just blew our cylinders off here and all around to make sure that there's no dirt in the cylinder fins or in between the cylinders. It collects in there, around the lifter blocks, any place like that where there could be some. We blew it all out with high pressure air, and that'll make sure that there's nothing in our way anywhere. So we're going to pop the cylinders off today and have a look and see what we're into and measure the pistons. We've got an idea what the cylinder walls are, but we're going to measure them up and see what we go for rings or whether we need to bore it out actually. Put masking tape over our lifter blocks as well to make sure that nothing goes down in there. When I pull something apart that I'm not familiar with and I'm curious about what it's doing and how it's working, when I pull the cylinders off, it's always nice to check where your rings were and everything else in the cylinders. That'll certainly tell you if you had some blow by just from improper ring alignment. So we're having a look in here, and what I'm seeing is pretty close alignment of everything in here. So I'm going to try to get the camera down here to have a look so you can see. So here's what we can see what we got. Try to shove that ahead a little bit or just put some light on it. You can see here, these are your oil control rings, and there's three of them. There's a center wavy one and an outside and an inside. And you see I can move my piece right through there. All three are lined up in that one area. The secondary compression ring here is open over here, and the top one compression ring is open here, so you can see the oil. It's pretty easy for oil to run down that flow in there. That certainly would be contributing to oiling on this back cylinder, especially these ones are wide open here. So we're going to fix that. That one appears to be okay. Not really where they should be, but they are staggered. Secondary rings over there. The bottom one looks to be staggered around, so it's not quite as bad. And rings do move around a bit, they say, so that's not so bad. So we're measuring our pistons up here, and I wasn't really going to take them off if I didn't have to. 619 thou in that one. Wow, that's small. That's small. Let's see what we're leaning back here. 619. 619 on both the pistons. So we're just going to set up our dial bore gauge to double check the bore size, but I would say we're out by quite a bit. All right, 625 thou on the zero. That's what we're looking for. Seven. Smaller down there. She's bigger up there. Let's see if we can get a shot at this one. 25, 26, 27, 27 there. We are on the thrust surfaces. 27. 25 at the bottom. 27. Yeah. Cleaning the gaskets off has to be one of the most tedious jobs there is. A lot of times when they're on there for a long period of time, they're baked on there. And there is no easy way. I've tried different gasket removers and things like that. Never had really anything that worked. Gotta take your time and scrape them off. Found sometimes trying to get these gaskets off can be a very hard time to get them off. You scrape and you don't want to cut the surfaces and stuff, so you go really slow. And it becomes a long, tedious job. On some instances, I have actually used a heat gun, and it's softened up the gaskets and made them easier to get off. So that's what we're going to look at doing today here and see if I can. I've got the first one clean, so we'll try the heat gun and see what happens. But it has softened it up considerably. Well, I don't know. Pretty obvious these gaskets were put on with some kind of sealer because they were stuck to the bottom of the cylinders, and you had to really scrape each one off. So I thought maybe the base gaskets might not be much there, or some come off, but they are to get off. You know, just time, making sure you don't drop things down the holes. Have it plugged up good in here. Keep blowing it off each little bit of pieces and just work away at it and see what happens. Trying to get them off can be a bit of a nightmare. If any of you out there have a better way to get these gaskets off, let me know. I'd be sure interested in ways to remove them. I've tried remote gasket removers. I've tried everything. I've tried heating them on the cylinders. Some of that works a little bit, but you can't do that here, and it's a real problem. So if you got any ideas, let me know. See, their surfaces are all clean the way they should be. Sometimes it's hard to get in there and get them off, especially when you got to scrape each one by one.
Ralphie.
Hey Barry, how's it going?
Good, brother.
Bringing me my parts I need?
I did.
Coolness. Great.
Don't know what you need, but there's a piston.
Everything to get it running.
Yeah, you know it.
I'll put a few together, yeah. Coolness.
Yeah, all
cool,
right.
got the carb and shit in here.
The rags come from motels in the States. I gotta go to the Toronto Dominion in Kentville. You know where it is?
It's in the middle street. You know, if you go in from here and then you go around the block, so that you come out the middle street. The one way is if you're coming this way. As soon as you get going, it's on the left-hand side, I think, just by Tim Hortons. Just this side of Tim Hortons.
I'm one of those people. As you go past, you know.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I know where all the bars.
Or you know where Bob Jones used to live.
Yeah.
You can't all the time,
I've
right?
been to the States many times. You ask directions, and you can't mess it.
Yeah.
It's always you can't.
I laugh at. I used to think that was a joke, but when I think about it over the years, how many times people said to me, "You know where so and so used to live?" I go, "No, man, that was before my time."
Might laugh. You know what Family Guy is?
Yeah.
It's Peter Griffin. I laugh just like him.
Oh.
I'm older, so I was doing it first.
And this is your rear piston.
Yeah.
Right here, and you're supposed to have. You get this three-piece ring. It's 3 pieces, and they're supposed to be staggered.
Yes, sir.
And then you should have like a compression ring over here and the other one over here. When I took them apart, these two were almost here.
They don't move.
Leaving it open.
They don't move in operation.
They do slightly, but not like that.
Yeah.
Not like that. So in other words, the oil can come right up like
Oh
that.
yeah. No, I just did it with the shovel head last year, but
Because I took it apart, just to look and see, if there was anything else to cause oiling and stuff.
that thing would scream.
That was definitely.
That thing would scream.
Yeah. Well, even with the low compression, it was screaming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is it gonna scream more now?
Yeah. Well. No, it should work good that way, but it's nice to. It's nice for me to take it apart and see different things. All the things are contributing factors. The oil going by those pistons all the time contributes to the buildup on the valve guide.
Yeah.
Make the valve stick in there because the top of the thing is so much carbon or burnt oil on the valve might have caused it to
I noticed
start that sticking
in
problem.
the video that the valve looked kind of gritty.
Yeah. And you could shove the valve up in that guide and it would just stick there. Pull it out.
Yeah.
So that may have started, because of the oil coming up past the piston.
Yep. What the seats look like.
Seats weren't bad. Not too bad.
I had one come out when I was in the States.
Yeah.
Destroyed it. Destroyed
it. Yeah. You can't turn it off fast enough to save it. Yeah.
Destruction.
Instant. Instantaneous.
Yeah. Right out the pipes. Right out the pipes.
Jeez.
I made a friend out of it.
Yeah. God, eh? Yeah.
Great guy.
Would totally destroy everything in there.
It did.
Yeah.
Put the cylinders apart and the connecting.
And you don't have
connecting rods just stayed there. Oh yeah. No flaw.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that's it then.
Okay, Barry.
All right. Off to the bank.
Have a good day. I will be talking to you. See you in the movies.
Did I do good?
You did good. So Barry dropped in, and now we have our parts ready to put this S&S motor together. I always love it when the new parts come because it's just like Christmas. S&S makes beautiful stuff, and this is the 10 thou over piston that we have to go into it. So now that we have our pistons, we can measure them to see what their size is, and I can go ahead and bore the cylinders out accordingly. I never bore the cylinders ahead of time because I find the bodies of the piston can vary quite a bit. And you'll find yourself with a cylinder bored out, get your pistons, find out they're a couple thou smaller, and now you're overboard. So we always wait till we get the pistons first so that we can measure them up. All right, well, we'll move ahead and get everything ready to go. So we're going to start by measuring up our pistons. This is a 3 to 4 inch micrometer that we're going to use. And when we measure the pistons, we measure across this area, from this side to this side, so that the piston pin is straight in the middle, and down as far as we can on the piston. So our pistons are measuring out about 3 inches, 632 thou. Give or take a half a thou. We'll take some final measurements when we get close. So we're going to go ahead and get our cylinders ready to bore and get these things sized out. So we're going to install our torque plates on these because they need to be torqued because of the distort when they're torqued down. And if you didn't do it, your bore wouldn't be right. So these come with a top plate and a bottom plate. This is the top one because it has the indents for the head pieces. Cylinder pieces that should be in this cylinder but aren't. It's probably a good time for us to put those back in the cylinder before we start this procedure. We're going to put our little dowel pins in here, and they just fall in here on this. They don't really go in and all that tight. I guess that's because they've been moving up and down, but they're alignment, so it's not a critical thing. We're going to put a head gasket on there. Snug them up a little bit there. We'll just mount it in the vise here so we can get a torque on it. We're going to go to 9 pounds. And then we'll take it up to 14. We'll go 42. Now we're torqued in place. Now we just need to get our honing stones out and our drill and stuff and take some measurements and away we go. So now that we're ready to go, we're going to put our honing apparatus in here and take some light cuts through and just see what kind of, where we got high, where we got low spots. We've set our dial bore gauge so I can periodically keep checking in here to see where I'm going in, and I've set the dial bore gauge for the size of the pistons. So once I know I'm there, but that gives me a good safe point and make sure that I got a nice straight bore going through. So we'll take some cuts and see what happens. We're going to loosen it off and clean our stones out, because when we first start, you quite often get an oil buildup in that in the stones. Quite a bit on the top end here. So we'll work on the areas that we know till we get it nice and even, and then we can concentrate on getting close to fit. So we're going to go along and finish these up to size, and then we'll change our stones and get them ready to put them up to the finished size, and then we'll run the ball hone through them and put a nice crosshatch pattern in them. So we're going to work away at them. The last step we got now is put the ball hone through it. Put our crosshatch pattern in it. That'll do it for that cylinder. Now what I'm going to do is go along and work on the next one. We'll get that done, and then we'll see about putting these pistons on this motor and working away at getting her going. Although it's hard to see, try putting a little light on it there. There's a nice crosshatch pattern built right in that. So although it's hard to see in there, but I'll put a light in there. And if you can see the little scratches in there, and they just go around and around and around the cylinder. They don't go in a crosshatch 45-degree pattern. And that's somebody who's just put it on the honing machine and held it in place to do the cylinder or to crosshatch it, whatever they were trying to do. But if it's not done at a 45-degree angle, it won't hold oil very well. And I've seen this numerous times before. I mean, somebody put it on their honing machine and just held it there and let the hone spin, and thinking that the size was right, and the size may have been right. So we're going to try and fix that problem, and we're going to make sure we have a good crosshatch pattern in there. So stick with us. We're on number 2, so when we get that done, we'll be at the motor. Just have to wash them out and clean them out good. Make sure that there's no grit or anything else in those cylinders before they ever go on the motor. All right, so we'll come back to you. Well, there now, we got the cylinders all bored and they're ready to go. Boring cylinders is not my favorite thing. It's such a dirty job with the cast iron and such. But it's done and finished, and we got a good tight fit on that motor. And this thing should really sing when she's done, I hope. So we'll get the cylinders probably put on tomorrow, and then I'll check with Jimmy to see if my head's coming, and maybe we'll skip down there and have a look and see what he's doing. And we're getting closer to having her all together. So follow us along.